So I'm sitting on a treasure trove of games, right? So many good games have been played, so many cool things I've not yet celebrated. And I thought I'd get to work on that and put together a series of games talking about how players won different of the weekly opens. We're starting with weekly open number 26. Why? Well, this came up in a conversation with Villalva, and this was a really nice one he won. It may have been a big one to bite because Villalva had really tough opposition and a whole lot of draws were played, but hopefully that gives us more to delve into. We'll try to move with some rapidity and focus on the highlights. I have not looked through the games in advance, so I don't yet know what the highlights are, but I think we'll figure it out and hopefully enjoy the games together. He's playing second turn, and this will be How Did Villalva Win? Chat Tournament number 26. In this first game, he is second turn against the phenomenal player, the Piggy Man. And we'll see how he handles it. I just lost my place in the file, so let's get back to it. Chat Tournament 26, Piggyman Villalva. All right. So we're going to be looking from Villalva's perspective because Villalva won this tournament. Obviously, we could be from many players' perspectives. Sometimes I'm balanced and well balanced. Other times I'm clearly coming from one side. But this game, we're going to be from from Villalva's perspective. So we have some coverage of the opponent's starter with our 4-8-8-4, right? We could take this if needed, but it doesn't seem obvious that it gets us anywhere, right? They have a pretty easy... Okay, maybe they don't have an easy recapture here, but they have a combo. They have a pretty easy combo here. Maybe they don't have an easy combo there. All right, maybe we have... Maybe this would have been interesting. Let's look at this one. This one, we also have combo play. Maybe we can attack it immediately. But Villalva held off doing this and just played in the far corner. Which, what I want in a far corner play is kind of for it to be harder to take our card than it is for us to take theirs. And I think that is mostly justified here, right? We know our 4-8-8-4 has pressure against their card. Do they have pressure against our card? Well, this way of taking, we obviously have the combo back. So they're really limited to only one potential way of capturing this. And this is not very appealing for them, right? If we do something like this, we can build a wall of 8s. So they don't have a comfortable way to take in 2. Do they have a comfortable way to take in 4? Well, this comes with a lot of risk as well, right? So what I look for kind of a good opposite corner, and this doesn't mean it has to have high numbers facing out, but does it challenge them in some way comparable to how they challenged us with their corner? And I think in this case, the answer is clearly yes, even though it has lower numbers facing out. So this seems a very appealing move to me. Now, Piggy grabbed. And this gives us an interesting choice, because we now have 2 uses for the 4-8-8-4. I think this is an interesting move from Piggy, because we want to put this in 3, but it is also our card for 6, and also our card for 8. And so it is not obvious where is it going to find its best home. And Villalva has to make a choice there, and I can flip on the solver. Yeah, there's some danger here. There are only 5 moves that tie. Is 4-8-8-4 and 3 one of them? That's the first move I'd look at. That is one. Villalva uses it in 8, noting that Piggy has used up his recapture for 6. And that is another way to tie. And similarly, now it's Piggy who has to be quite careful. Piggy continues in 3. And there isn't a win here for Villalva. It's also hard to build out because both your 8s are well covered by 7-7-5-5. So we have to be pretty careful here. Villalva goes in 7, using the fact that Piggy is all up and doesn't have captures. Piggy only has 1 tie here, but he does find it, 7-7-5-5 and 6, when 8-7-6-1 can either combo back either card that would land in 5, and so Villalva has to well, I guess you could go there are ties in both squares, right? You could go in 4 and tie this way, or go in 5 with that same and tie this way, which is what Villalva went for. I've called Villalva combo sensitive recently. He does he does set up a lot of combos to control squares, and I hope that's something we see in these games. So that's the first game they played. I think an interesting tie. I think the meeting 9 and 1 like that was quite powerful, and then there was a really interesting question of what to do with the 4-8-8-4. So we move on to game 2, and here Villalva has first turn, and a habit Villalva has that is generally not to my taste is starters in 5. But I do think there's some justification there, and I wanna return to that in a moment. I want to first say Piggy has these double 8-8 corners for 7, and Villalva's hand does not have an easy rejoinder to them, right? There is not an obvious game plan against them. And doing something like his move in 5 that gives some coverage of that threat of 7, given that that threat is such a big percentage of Piggy's hand, I think is a certain logic to it. I think also when you do start in 5, you really want to have cards with the maximum number available that the opponent has trouble taking. And Villalva very much has that, right? If something like 5-8-2-8 now lands in 3, right, that 8 can't be taken. So there's lots of times where, like, that's probably not a good example. How to give a good example? Where, like, just pretend this move made sense. Where Piggy blocks 6, and now Villalva has potential safe options in kind of 7 or 9. And I think that can really justify center starters, and I made a video about the center attack. But I think a reason to go for center starters is having these side-to-side or up-down cards with the max number facing out that can slide next to the action as it develops. And Villalva having 5-8-2-8 and 8-4-8-4 makes me like this move a lot more than I normally would. So Piggy goes in 8. And there's no recapture in 9. Therefore, I assume he has combo play. That seems tricky to make work. I'm skeptical of this move. Let's see what Villalva did. Yeah, Villalva just captures it, which makes a lot of sense to me, right? The 5-7-7-6 controls cards like this really nicely. Now, maybe it doesn't here. Maybe there's combo back, but it at least makes there a big threat against that move. This looks very appealing to me. But apparently Piggy had this figured out. He does go 8-5-8-3 and 4. Wow, we are really going for it. With the point that Villalva can't combo because Piggy has the combo back. So can Villalva set up combos in other squares? He goes 8-4-8-4 and 9, right? Because any combo through any of these cards is going to flip all the others. We have this circle where 6-8-4-7 flips 8-5-8-3, flips 5-8-2-8, flips 8-8-2-4. And whichever is comboed, all the others fall. Now it turns out Villalva only has one move to survive here, but he does find it. Again, combo sensitive player. Once you come up with a phrase, you just can't let it go and you get very repetitive. But I think this is a really nice find. Piggy now blocks 6, gets rid of the square Villalva has that Piggy doesn't. Note Villalva still doesn't have the combo because Piggy has the combo back and would win there. So Villalva instead has to leave 1 open and instead go in 3. Now Piggy must block 1, but 5-7-7-6 proves a sufficient sweeper. Oh, very interesting game. This is a fun position to think, like, there's only one tie here, can you find it? It is the combo setup play. Really brave to go into it, though. Piggy's move in 8, quite dangerous. I'm really glad Villalva went for it and made Piggy have to prove it. Yeah, very interesting game. That's a good one. That's worth pausing and thinking about for a bit. But for me, we shall move on to the next game. In game 3, Villalva has first turn again and starts in 4. This is another thing Villalva likes to do, significantly more than I do, but again, that doesn't mean it's wrong. And we can see the obvious synergy between this card and 8-8-5-3, building out safety. And we can also see that a lot of Villalva's cards are quite happy to be going left, right? If you imagine some sequence like this, 5-6-5-8 and 6-5-5-8 are so happy the game's going to have targets to the left. and that adds some appeal to this move. Piggy goes for just maximum complications, setting up a somewhat similar kind of thing on the other side, using the fact that Villalva only has one card with high power to the right, and that card's probably being used up recapturing in 1 or 7. Also now Piggy has 5 and Villalva doesn't. So I think we should say the normal thing to do in this kind of position is either block 5 or go in one of the corners. So of course Villalva massively complicates by going in 8. Again, this is combo happy play, just setting up 8-8-5-3 everywhere. Now Piggy has limited choices for what cards he can put in 9. And there's a lot going on everywhere. This would, again, take quite a long time to analyze, but I'm having the solver check and it's saying, no mistakes being made. This is good play. Piggy goes in 9, which I think is the appealing thing to do, right? Fundamentally, if you go in 9, the other player goes in 7, and you go in 5, you'll have 8 and 9, and you'll have 2 of the cards on the back row advantaged. So Piggy is trying to grab a structural advantage. Of course, Villalva is not going to do the simple thing and just go in 7. Instead, he goes in 3, saying, I now have 3 is safe, and we now have this pair between 5 and 7, and I'm in good shape whichever of those squares I get. My 8-8-5-3 is going to be excellent. I'm just looking to get the 8-5-5-6 out of my hand somewhere, and then I'll be good. Piggy goes 5-5-8-6 in 1. And now, can that be right? All right. The solver is saying this move wins. And it does. So that might have been missed. It's possible I input the moves wrong. That always happens, but it's quite possible something was missed here. If so, there's one winning move, but it feels weird to use the 8-8-5-3 because the 8-5-5-6 has never been our finisher. It's the card we're looking to get out of the hand, right? Like, this is the move I'm expecting to make, but it doesn't work here because after they combo, we only flip back one card. So it makes sense that the win would be getting rid of the worst square. It's just surprising to have 8-5-5-6 as the sweeper. Now, either I put in the game wrong or, a win was missed here. Villalva goes in 5, Piggy goes in 2, and Villalva has the capture at the end to get a tie. I'm going to guess a mistake was made here, kind of on the principle that 3 really well-played games in a row is actually just very rare, no matter how good the players are, and that kind of in this complicated mess, the players were calculated out and didn't quite find their way, but it is also possible I put in the cards wrong, and I'm sure when one of them views this, they will let us know. But also, it is no shame to make a mistake every 3 games. That is, in fact, a very, very low rate of mistakes, especially given how I think complicated and dynamic their games have been so far. And we're on game number 4. Piggyman back to first turn, so we will be focusing on second turn. Piggyman starts with a weak corner, and Villalva, for the second time this match, replies with a far corner, and for the second time this match, this feels really logical. It is both safe and obviously passes the test of what I was talking about. Does your corner, your opposite corner, present more difficulty in being captured than theirs does? The answer is obviously yes. Villalva has multiple ways to capture from both directions their starter, and Piggy has none on Villalva's. So this is definitely a game where Villalva applying some early pressure. Now, Piggy goes in 1, which gives Piggy 2, which Villalva does not share. It also creates a threat in 4, which Villalva does share. So my instinct for Villalva is block 4, because that's the square Piggy now is a threat on your card. My instinct would be something like 5-8-6-6 and 4. And Villalva plays 8-6-5-5 and 4. This is very similar. The solver is telling me that maybe 8-3-8-5 and 4 was a forced win, but this is very hard to find versus the other moves. When these capture with more out-facing, and it feels like this is potentially a better card to keep for later. I think this is very difficult to decide between these moves. And this move also puts tremendous pressure on Piggy. He plays in 2, which is correct. And Villalva now grabs in 6, which again puts kind of maximal pressure on Piggy. He only has 1 tie here, but he does find it, keeping 8-7-2-5 as his endgame sweeper. And it is just good enough, the only move that ties. But I think this was a nice game for Villalva, applying a whole bunch of pressure. The game ends 8-3-8-5 here, 8-7-2-5, and we have our 4th tie, and one where, again, technically maybe a mistake here, but this is a very appealing move, and very hard to judge one of these is working while the other doesn't. I think another really good game and another good tie. And of these games, I actually don't know who I'd say has had I'm not sure who I'd say has had the advantage in most of them, but this one was definitely going Villalva's way. Incidentally, this was one of the longer matches, so expect us to be going for a while here. And I should say, Villalva has now technically created chances twice to Piggy 0, which is pretty outrageous against Piggy Man, because whenever I do numbers on chance creation, Piggy Man is off the charts, both not conceding chances and creating them. This is our 3rd first turn for Villalva, and we've had 1 side starter and now 2 center starters. You'll notice this has obvious synergy with 8-5-8-4, with 7-5-8-4, and again, Villalva's hand is a hand with a bunch of vertical or horizontal cards, and I think those hands do tend to play better with 5 starters. Piggy does a very smart thing here. Piggy directs the game side to side, right? He sees Villalva's hand as 2 of these up-down cards, 5-7-8-5, definitely a bit more up-down than side to side, and says, I'm just going to make the game side to side and not play to how your cards want. And this is very clearly one of the weaknesses of these center starters, is the other person can direct the game like this. So it turns out there are only 5 moves that tie here for Villalva, and going for maximum synergy, Villalva finds one of them. Really nice save. 8-5-8-4 is a beast, and that potential gets him in it. So even though Piggy can grab safety, and he does, Villalva needs to keep his combo squares alive, so he captures in 7, grabbing the card in 4. And I think he's just ready to meet any move in 8 with 8-8-5-3 and 9, and 8-5-8-4 is just beautiful in that endgame. And it's also very dangerous for Piggy to put something in 8, because that's gonna most likely be weak to 5 and combo susceptible. What's the solver say? Yeah, the solver says this is tied, and Piggy ends up blocking 2, getting rid of one of those combo squares, and Villalva can play 8, and now 8-5-8-4 does the sufficient endgame control. So I think this was a tough random, and Piggy played a great first move that really made it tough for Villalva's hand to find play, but he found uses for all his up-down cards, right? He plays in 7, snagging 4, he gives 8-5-8-4 this huge combo potential, and so despite having 3 very similar cards, he ends up finding use for them all, and holding the tie in this game, and in fact, avoiding being in serious danger, which I think is pretty impressive here. So, geez, how many ties have we had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was our 5th tie. Our next game, Piggy will have first turn again. Villalva will be back on second turn. So, game number 6, Piggy first turn. He starts in 3. He starts in 7. 3 would have been very well controlled by many of Villalva's cards. Starts in 7 with a weak corner. And as Villalva has done in this tournament, in this match, every single time he has seen a corner starter, he has played a far corner starter that was more difficult for his opponent to take than the corner Piggy played was for him to take. And Villalva has definitely, you look at him play in different tournaments, you see different styles emerge. But this tournament, it looks pretty clear he's finding strong moves in opposite corners as a way to meet corner starters. Now we might note Villalva does not have a recapture in 2. Is that a problem? Well, this capture can be comboed back. This capture can be comboed back the same way. This capture can be comboed back technically a different way, but very similarly. So you're left with one capture that can't be comboed back that way, and it probably is just taken because this creates a wall of 8s that's very strong. So really interesting move in 3 because 6 is hard to play, and if his opponent doesn't play 6, Villalva's going to block 6 and lock in the card in 3, and that card in 7 is still going to be a target. So this strikes me as a very appealing move here. Piggy blocks 9, which I think makes a lot of sense because 9 is the problem. Piggy wants to go 6, but can't do to 9, therefore block 9. I assume Villalva goes 6 here. It seems very logical to go 6, locking in 3. Villalva gets his wall. And I think this is very dangerous for Piggy. He ends up playing 5, 6, 4, 8 in 4. Which you really got to calculate correctly. And the solver says there is a win here with comboing it immediately from 1. Now, I guess here you have here. It's not quite enough. It's hard to count. But technically it seems like there was a win here. Villalva goes in 5. Just maximum complications. But again, just really this feel for combo of if you go in 8, right? I get to combo back everything back with that combo in 1, and you lose really badly. And you put either card here, and I have set up significant combo synergy. So I have made this move in 5 that sets a trap in 8. Again, Villalva's feel for controlling squares through combo potential in other squares, I think is really elite. I think that's a talent not many players have. Seto and Delial really come to mind as players that have a good feel for this. I think Karmazin also had a really special feel here. But I think there are certain players that look to control space through combo potential. And Villalva is really good at that. And it's not like you see players who play on the diagonal, right? You see players who see a move in 4 and they're looking at 2 and trying to set up combos in 5 and 1. And that's not really what I mean. I mean taking that he has a square with a combo on the board and instead of jumping on it immediately, setting up so that that combo controls even more squares and blocks them off to the opponent. So while this is technically Villalva's 3rd winning position of the match and 3rd missed win, it is also a move that I think really shows what he does so well and something he has a vision for at an absolutely elite level. And that's what I'm really trying to get at when I say combo sensitive. It isn't like always playing on the diagonal and always trying to set up combo squares. It's when you have just one combo square on the board, maximizing how much of the board it controls with moves that are just not normal moves you check for. This is the last square I'd look for here. And so I think like it shows both the strength and the weakness of Villalva as a player is he's got this fascinating vision for moves, but it comes with missing stuff or not always being the most precise. And that's fine. Obviously, we can't all be the most precise. This is not meant to be an attack. I think this is a really interesting move, but I think it's also emblematic of the strengths and weaknesses we're seeing here in a excellent and fascinating, but also flawed player. And he really is one of like 5 players I would identify as regularly finding moves of this type. And sometimes they are correct and no one else would find them. And sometimes they are incorrect and no one else would find them. And it varies game to game. Cool move. So this move actually is still, some pressure. Piggy avoids going in 7 or 8, and we end up heading towards a tie. Another really interesting game. So that's tie number 6. What have we seen from Villalva? We've seen him against one of the highest pressure players on the planet have 3 games where he created winning chances. We have seen him concede winning chances in 0 games, despite his kind of high-octane style of play. He's in fact never been lost here. He has met every corner with an opposite corner, and I think handled that really well. I think he's regularly getting advantage on second turn with his opposite corner play, and on first turn, he has played no corner starters at all, instead opting for 5 starters that I think made some sense with the ways his hands have been so vertical and horizontal. And even despite giving up directional control by making a 5 starter, managed to save the last game quite comfortably. And he also played a 4 starter, and he definitely likes defensive side starters. That is something else he is prone to doing. This is game number 7. Villalva has first turn again for the 4th time. We've seen 2 center starters and 1 side starter. And here he notices Piggy only has 7s going down. He opts for the side starter. I do think with not really particularly high number vertical horizontal cards, a center starter makes less sense, and indeed he does not go for it. He notices 8-5-5-6 and 7-7-4-6 make a nice pairing. If this is captured, he can build out safety. Piggy, because he has played quite interestingly this match as well, goes in 4. And what I like about this type of move is he creates 5 as a square Piggy has and Villalva doesn't. So one way to play this would be to say, okay, I'm going to create an L this way. But the problem is, maybe Piggy doesn't have a great setup for the L. Here, he does have a setup for a threatened 5, but maybe Villalva can just take it and that's kind of uncomfortable. Well, maybe he can't here. This might have been good. But one way to do it is to sort of play here, force the corner, and then hit with this move. And you can kind of guarantee you've come out with these 2 safe cards, and that your opponent doesn't have a threatened 5 because you place this card in 4. So here, you may not have safety in 7, but you want to play your L in 7 and 4. Then the way to do it is often start in 4, and you get, I guess, 9 and 4 as the combo. It's an interesting way to try to achieve an L. But of course, we're playing Villalva here, so Villalva is not just going to play conventional moves. Villalva is going to leave open these paired squares of 7 and 9, because 7-7-4-6 is both, and instead remove a different square from the board and say, okay, I'm not going to take 7, because then you have 9. I want to go in the other one when you play. I'm just going to take safety in 1. And this seems very logical. I think Piggy probably has to now grab 7, and he agrees. And I think that is a smart choice. I assume Villalva now takes 9. He does, but he doesn't have to with this card because he doesn't have to recapture. So he decides this card has a little more play than this card. Do I agree with that? I do. The 6 to the left really lines up well with a bunch of cards, while this 6 down also lines up well. And it might be more redundant. Not sure which I'd use. But not that. Villalva goes here in 9, not needing to recapture. But Piggy has a fairly comfortable path to the tie here. He goes in 2, which is a creative way to do it, but actually puts on a bunch of pressure, because Villalva can't really, it's a bit dangerous to walk into stuff here. I guess that one does tie. Maybe that's the only tie, actually. Yeah, the solver says there's only one tie here. Villalva finds it, walking into the combo. Why does everything else lose, though? This loses because it sets Piggy up so well. And if you go somewhere like here, I must be missing something obvious. Oh, yeah, Piggy has a plus and 5. Right. But Piggy can't take the plus and 5 immediately, or can he? He can't, because Villalva has kept this card, which combos back, and now Villalva wins. So Villalva has set up combo play by keeping 7-7-4-6, discouraging the move Piggy wanted. So Piggy sets some traps with 5. Anything you put in 5 sets me up a bit, and also really wants Villalva to block a square like 6. Okay, took a little bit to figure that out, but Villalva finds the tie, walking into the combo, but still holding 5-5. And that's our 7th tie. And I think kind of interestingly, we have not yet seen a corner starter, the most common starter type, out of Villalva, and we've also seen him really playing the far corner. Now, as I'm recording this video, we just had the Christmas GB happen, and I've done some stats on all the games. And one thing interesting about that was corner starters were way more often than any time I've checked in the past, really reliably met by far corners or center plays. And Villalva was actually one of the few people recently not doing that as much. So it's interesting to see him be stylistically different over time. And I think if we go through these tournaments, and I'm going to focus on the winners, but maybe we'll see some games from other players on the way, of course, because they had to play games to get there. I think something interesting to see would be, maybe Villalva wins the next chat tournament now. 6 months later, how has his style changed, right? And, Akiyama has won more of these weekly opens than anyone. It'll be interesting to see if he plays differently as we go through the history of these over time. I think that's something to keep an eye on. And it's game number 8. Villalva has another second turn. Piggy starts in 3. Will we see a response in 7? For the first time, we do not. Villalva responds in 5. Setting up a big same in 2, and also 7-6-8-4 flanks it really nicely in 4 at the same time. Piggy now goes in 7, where Villalva has play an 8 with actually every single card in his hand has a capture in 8, but Piggy has a nice recapture in both 4 and 8. 8-5-7-5 looks like a beast here, and looks like if that's left on the board, it could be really powerful. Villalva grabs safety in 6. This seems very reasonable. I don't know if you have a great way to block. Yeah. You kind of want to block 1 of 4 or 8, but you might not have a way to do so. So grab safety while you can. And if Piggy goes for the Q, then that actually makes it hard for Piggy to pair 4 and 8. Because if Piggy goes in 2 and you go in, say, 4, it's sometimes hard for Piggy to play an 8 immediately. And actually, this is pretty good pressure. Piggy has to be pretty careful. Huh. Every move in 2 is losing. That's fascinating. This is losing. This loses on the spot to everything, actually. To everything. I mean, not literally every move, but to almost every move. For instance, just capturing it wins on the spot. Because Piggy cannot really rely on 8-5-7-5 as his final card. And if Piggy tries to go for the big setup play, that's fine. You only take 2 cards. So this looks like a really good cue. Piggy has a card that's good for both 4 and 8, and he has locked in the card in 3, and it's actually lost on the spot. Piggy does not go for that, but this shows how much Villalva is setting up with his moves, and his understanding of when opponent combo potential is dangerous, and when it isn't. That's really neat. Piggy goes in 9. A different attempt to save this position, and now 11 of Villalva's 12 moves lose, but he finds the one that doesn't. Okay, not the hardest find, and gets his win. What a tough match. This is one of the longest matches we've seen, going 8 ties, and with 4 first turns, 4 second turns. Villalva eventually pulls out a first round win, and now we will go on finally to the second round. The computer is buzzing a bit at this point. Hopefully the sound suppressor that should get rid of small sounds is getting rid of it. It looks to me like it is, but I apologize if it isn't. Recordings take a lot of power on this thing. Anyway, in the semifinals, we're facing Franco. Note, there is no same on this rule set. Franco starts in 1. And for the first time we've seen, Villalva does not reply in the far corner or in 5. He actually does something I'd be pretty hesitant to do in general, though we'll have to look at the specific, which is with a hand all facing to the right, he makes the game to the left. On the other hand, this move is just safe, and so it is hard to argue with much, and creates a threat in 4. It feels to me like Franco probably has to block 4. He doesn't though. He goes for the kind of the knight move, a much more I talk about the always capture game. This is a correct move in the always capture game. That'll make sense to like one of my 7 viewers. Might be you, might not be. Villalva builds out from his safety, specifically setting up combos in 5. Note, if you're going to play a move like this and you can only set up combos in 1 of 5 or 9, you want to set up the combos in 5 as Villalva is doing. And you note he sets a combo that's unique to him. Because when you play a move like this, you make 9 a very desirable square in itself. So if the opponent takes 9, you need something to compensate. So you need combo play in 5. If the opponent doesn't take 9, it's okay that you didn't have combo play because you got 9. 9 is a great prize, right? So when you give up 9, you need 5. And I think, again, there are a number of moves Villalva plays, but he often gives up a square because he's setting up combo play elsewhere. And when he gives up a square, either he is getting combo play in return, or it's a square that's pretty dangerous to touch. I think this is a common theme in his games. Franco takes 9, but this is walking into a bit of the trap, and I think Villalva now should be winning, having comboed through 6. He had 9 covered, or at least that card in 9 covered. And I suspect he's actually fine here. Yeah, there are only 2 moves that tie here. Either blocking 5 with exactly 3, 1, 6, 7 is a tie, but that's very hard to find. Or one of the cards neither card in 9 holds. Like, it looks like something like this should hold, but actually, it does hold. Yeah, I was going to say that should hold. That is the other hold. Okay. This does not tie, though. Because there's another big setup. Wow. Very interesting. Okay, big setups here. So this is the only kind of normal move that ties, and Franco does not find it. Man, interesting move in 8. Quite complicated. Easy to go wrong there, even though, you know, this feels like the safest move. But this is not just like less comfortable, but outright losing is quite a surprise to me. So Villalva is now winning, and after 5, 3, 4, 7, and 3. Wait, he doesn't go in 5. Villalva goes in 2. Sorry, I just assumed. This also works. Again, he doesn't take the combos. He doesn't immediately punish. He goes, why not set up more combos? Why do I have to settle for this when I can grab an even bigger combo later? I think it's kind of funny. I just assumed when I saw his next move is 6, 6, 5, 1. Of course he goes 5. That should work. But no, he makes sure it is even bigger when the combo hits and wins this 8-2. So he is through to the finals, where he is facing Akiyama. Now, we've been going 38 minutes, so I'm just going to record a new video for the finals. So this is part 1 of how Akiyama won Chat Tournament 26.